Yep. All right, I'll share out my my incredible PowerPoint. All right. So got a few things this week. Jim, as always, we'll have you kick things off. See if there's anything from the CEO desk you want to share. We got wins of the week. Amanda's got some new reports to share. Leron's gonna share some updates on Microsoft. And then I got some new exciting stuff on Midnight Blizzard. And when I say exciting, that's certainly an air quote and sarcasm. And last but not least, we're going to do a really cool fireside chat with Cory. Although Cory, I probably should spell your name right as I look at it. Um, and we're going to be talking about demystifying XDR because I think it's really apropos, so much that I'm going to do a cyber call on it with Cory and Michael on Monday because we're getting to the point where log aggregation and specifically being able to, correlate what's happening in our SaaS world is getting more and more critical to what is happening in the network from a data exfiltration side. So I'm excited to chat with Cory about that. So Jim, let's start things off with you. Anything in the CEO desk that you want to share before we hit wins of the week?
I was just going to go right in. So first of all, we've got some exciting news coming up at the end of the month. This is for, I know a lot of folks here in peer groups and they work with other MSPs. This will be an opportunity for you to talk about SaaS alerts and get people to try it in a new and different way. So I don't want to give away too much, but that's coming out May 1st. I mentioned, last week that, we, for those that weren't on the call, we've passed our ISO audit. So thank you. And then we also are finalists for those that maybe saw the post on LinkedIn yesterday. We're a finalist for the Cloud Awards. So this is it's a pretty prestigious award. There's a lot of awards out there, and a lot of them are kind of pay for play. And this one is really legitimate, and we've applied for it multiple years. We've made the short list a few times, but we're now a finalist. So that's really cool, and we're proud of that. So fingers crossed. We found out May 7th whether or not we win. We're one out of, I think there's 5 total companies that are finalists.
Jim, you
And
didn't
then,
say bus, did you?
what's that?
The short bus?
Short bus. I used to take a short bus, but now, and we used to be on the short list, but now we're
Oh,
finalists.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, I'll kick off wins of the week, and hopefully some other folks can share stories as well. Pat Sullivan and I were up in Montreal this past week at the MicroWage Summit. They have an annual summit up there. And we signed up late Q1. We signed up one of their franchisees, MicroWage Richmond. And he came up to us, I think it was on Monday, and said, I just went through onboarding. Onboarding was fantastic. And we immediately caught a internal breach. So what happened was they added a customer, and this customer was sharing a file called passwords. They're sharing it out of SharePoint anonymously, and it turns out it was no good. So the guy was like, "This is awesome," and it's basically proving its weight right now. So that was great to hear, as always. When people come up to you with that type of information, and with that, we'd love to hear if other folks have similar stories they want to share from this past week.
Yeah, I want to hear that, but I am putting in a just FYI in the chat because Brian asked about Duo, and I didn't know specifically, Brian, but ironically, you added Octa, which got compromised. And by the way, I don't know if you know, Duo got compromised just a few days ago also. So good timing, Jim, on your monitoring of identity providers and things of
Yeah.
that.
Look, at this point, I think it just makes sense to monitor it as much as you possibly can from a third party perspective. Chip, Ryan, and I were on a call this morning with a very large organization out of Europe,
Mhm.
and they were talking about the fact that they do a lot of the monitoring of 365 through Microsoft tools. And I said, with everything that's out there about Microsoft right now and the compromises that have happened and the things we know and the things that we should know but we'll never know, do you think it's a good idea to have Microsoft please Microsoft? And there were two guys on the call sharing the same screen, and they paused and they looked at each other and they came back and looked at us and said, "That's a valid point."
It is a valid point these days.
Yeah, but I say it because in the context of Octa and Duo is because look, if you have customers that are using these applications, you should be leveraging us to monitor it. And everyone on this call, you you're not paying extra for it. It's all included. Like, please take advantage of the software. Like,
Yeah.
there's no harm in doing it. I think only good things will come from it. So
All right. All right. So do we have any wins of the week? Anybody want to chime up and share some goodness? No rainbows and puppy dogs here, Jim?
I'll take rainbows, butterflies, cherries, anything.
I can't believe with all the millions of alerts that you guys ingest and cipher through every week that there aren't more wins.
See,
Or
that's a problem
everybody-
for me. It's like there's so many alerts that we're responding to, it all just blurs together. You know, I pulled data, right? So as you guys know, we monitor many different technologies. And
Right.
I'd say on the SaaS side, last time I pulled numbers were between 83 and 86% of the alerts my SOC are sending are out of the SaaS side.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's a
It
lot.
is.
It's a lot of data, and it's valid, and that's why it's the number one attack surface, right? I mean, it's
Right.
where most of it starts.
It's interesting though, Cory, when you sit there and say 80, 86%, when, post, COVID, it's interesting, right? It's probably right in line with the shift to SaaS applications. It's probably right up in that 70 to 80% number. It's tracking pretty well, pretty
Yeah.
true.
I mean, the endpoints become harder, right? Definitely. Over the years with the newer technology, endpoints become harder to compromise compared to an account, right? Compared to authentication.
Yep.
And that's why the adversaries are hitting that a lot more.
All day.
Exactly.
All right.
Great stuff, Cory. So we got Steve and Eric. Steve, I guess go first, please.
Okay. Go, Steve.
Okay, cool. I have a win.
Awesome.
Nice.
Always a late Friday afternoon, right before you leave to the weekend, right? Man
Yep.
in the middle attack, and we wouldn't have known about it. They had a token authentication that they stole from a high-risk user, VP of an organization, and we nabbed it like that.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Beautiful.
awesome, Steve.
Yes. Virtual high five, Steve. Nice.
Steve, what was it? What was the alert? Can you kind of just walk us
Sure.
through I'd love everybody to understand how you use the tool.
Yeah, so the end user received a business email compromise from a vendor she was doing business with. And granted, we send out security awareness training. And of course, she's the one not taking it because nothing against C-level people, but they never do it, right? Or whatever. But in any case, so we've been with SaaS alerts maybe a month. So we're still going through all the alerts and the noise quiet. But in the meantime, and playing with it, I set up on my mobile device the app, and I get a different
Nice.
notification due to all the other noise of my notifications. And as I was about to leave the office, it went beep, beep, beep. And I knew that this user was high risk. So I jumped on it, and she clicked the link, and immediately I saw a sign in from Madrid, Spain. She's based in Montvale, New Jersey. I knew she wasn't in Spain, and I called her, and she said, she says, yeah, oh, I got this funny email. I must have clicked on it. I did click on it, she said. So as far as the sign-in logs, the Madrid, Spain was a conditional access violation because we don't allow sign-in outside the US. A minute later, they were signed in from Detroit, Michigan, VPN. They got into her box, created risky inbox rules with data exfiltration rules set up. Nothing was done yet, but we immediately locked them out, sign out sessions, and boom. That was due to Respond being set up, some Respond rules for risky inbox rules, and boom, that's what triggered the notification in the app, that Respond rule, and it was worth its money in gold. It's like, wow.
I can't even tell you how good all this sounds and feels. When as a former MSP myself and being in your shoes, the goodwill that you've now created with that customer, I can only imagine, like there's no way they're ever going to leave you now. And the fact that our software is delivering like that for you, really, it warms my heart. And you mentioned something really important, Steve. You're using the app, because not many people are actually using the mobile app right now. And we're trying to move more and more people to it off of SMS. And I'm so happy that you're doing it. I'm sure Anthony or Ben during onboarding probably told you that you should be using it.
Yeah.
But the app is awesome. Adam Steinoff from the team did a great job designing it. So
really good stuff. This is Michelle. I'm sorry, Michelle. Amy acting as Michelle. Let's capture that video right there, like as risky business.
Already made a note.
Right. Fantastic. All right, Eric. Good to see you, bud. How are you?
Hey. Similar, I just want to plug the Discord a little bit. I created a rule off of the Discord that somebody had mentioned. I think Ben shared it, but another partner had created it for a user agent that is suspicious with, I think it shows up as a Linux machine using Safari or something like that. And I've had that trip twice in the last week. I think once this week and once at the end of last week. And none of the other alerts tripped. Like they were using a VPN, so they were looked like they were in the US. But that rule, along with we also set up another rule to alert us when Microsoft says that a user is risky with if they have the appropriate licensing. So those two rules were what tipped us off that this mailbox looks like it's compromised, and in both times it actually wasn't a false positive. So thanks to the people sharing stuff in Discord.
yeah, that's awesome. Really good stuff. And a lot of credit to Ben and team for actually setting up the Discord channel and being active there. So
we also have one from, thanks for that, Eric. Appreciate you participating. We got one from Ron. Ron,
yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so Jim, I was in your session, a week ago or so on, getting people signed up. I had made the conscious decision back in March to just put every single 365 customer in the system, whether they were elected to get it or not, which I've already had over half of my clients in there. So just about a week after I put everybody in, we stopped a business email compromise. It was a risky inbox rule, and I got in there and kicked them out before they could start. They obviously had been looking through all the emails, and they targeted a customer, a very large engineering firm here in Kansas City. And they were getting ready to probably target them with some bogus invoicing to look like it was coming from one of their actual vendors. So we got them kicked out before they did anything bad. And that worked.
Awesome. You're using a Respond?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but this was this is just one of these rules that, you know, we've had in place. I think it goes back to one of Ben's from a while back, and any kind of, I just have it notify me anytime a forwarding rule is set up in any way, shape, or form inside 365.
Yeah, good move. That is awesome, Ron. Definitely thanks for sharing that. And one of the things, key points that you mentioned there is you've covered your entire base. One of the things I tell people all the time is at this point, I almost guarantee that if you haven't been using SaaS alerts and you put this on everybody, I'm willing to put a lot of money on the line that you're going to find at least one compromise.
Oh, absolutely. And the day I caught it, this company owns 3 smaller companies, and the manager at the smaller one that had her account breached, she said, "I don't care what the big bosses say, I'm going to pay for it. Sign me up." So yeah, it was right there.
Wow,
Yep.
that's fantastic. And again, more goodwill, right? Like I always said as MSP, this is a goodwill game. So I've said this before, probably to this group many times. We start out with a reservoir of goodwill when we bring on a customer, right? And then every day, depending on what happens, that reservoir of goodwill, we increase it or it goes down. And once the goodwill is completely drained out of the reservoir of the relationship, basically they're on to the next provider or solution. They basically, they're done with you. What you guys are doing is you're adding to your reservoir of goodwill by catching these, and your customers know it, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Jim, one would think, you know, we signed a law office who was very unhappy with their former provider. They're a small one, actually up the hill from us. And as soon as we put SaaS alerts on, and they'd already talked about a compromise, we saw active signs in their environment, cleaned it up, did what we needed to do. 2 months later, the principal got hacked yet again. And that's probably going back 6 or 7 months. They decided they wanted, you know, they weren't willing to pay for any support. So they went to they're going to some independent guy. You know, they wanted to get rid of, at one point they were talking about just doing it on their own. We don't really need antivirus. Yeah, you know, so one would think.
One would think, yes.
What's up? You can't fix stupid.
Yeah, that's true. You can leave the horse in water, you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
Enrique.
Hey guys, good afternoon. So I have a humongous win thanks to Ben. We took my environment from having what Andy would say, you have it configured incorrectly, close to 1,000 alerts, to now we just have the necessary ones. So thank you very much, Ben. So that's a humongous win. We were already auto remediating and doing a lot of stuff. It was just very noisy, but now we're fine-tuned.
Yes. So yeah, look, we've spent a lot of time and energy allowing folks to, and doing a lot of re-onboardings, right? For folks that need to tune the solution based on what you really need and the specific requirements of your customers and your organization. So if you haven't done it, you need to. Noise should never be an issue if you're doing it the right way. Right.
I don't know how one customer was able to do, there's an MFA rule. I don't know if, well, I labeled, I think, Ben's MFA. I don't know what the hell they did. So now I'm not noisy. And all of a sudden I get this MFA, Ben's MFA alert. And I'm like, what in God's earth happened? And I called him up immediately because I own the company. I'm like, what did you guys do? And they're like, yeah, we messed up. And I'm like, how did you mess up? I mean, I got a heart attack when I saw this. Like, this is like no noise. So that this is real, but I don't know what they did. They were able to trigger one of those rules. And then we also took advantage of a whole bunch of templates we hadn't used. Stale accounts with global admin user. So I just went wild west and turned everything on. No one's cried so far in 7-10 days. So I think we're doing good.
Okay. I would say so as well. So I'll share a secret on this call that we've never really shared before. I know we haven't. There's actually 5 bins. We've now gotten to the point where we can duplicate Ben, and we've got 5 of them. So we've worked in the AI lab, and it's now come to fruition.
You're not
So.
sharing the calendar for all 5 bands because we still have hard times.
No, his calendar is seriously jacked up. It's full every single day. I don't think the guy sleeps, to be quite honest. But anyway, thanks for sharing, Enrique.
Really good stuff. Really good. That was awesome, Jim, that we got so much
Yeah,
interaction today on that.
right.
So fantastic. All right. Let's go on to Miss Amanda. You with us?
Yep, I'm here. Thank you. So I've shared, I think, all of these reports before, but they were back when they were under development. So these have been released to production. So we wanted just to remind everybody what's out there now. Hopefully you can see my screen with the view reports list.
Yes.
Great. All right. So the first report that I'm going to show you today is an enhancement to the new foreign applications details report, the Shadow IT. If you haven't taken advantage of this report yet, it shows you all the logins that you're using for the Shadow IT options. But what we did was we added graphs to it. So now you'll get accounts with the most foreign applications at the top. And then you'll have in the middle section, most frequent foreign applications. So you can see at a glance what people are using. And then you still have the table at the bottom with the details that you're looking for. So that report's been enhanced. The next report is also new / an enhancement. The device mapping list, it now has the Unify tag on it. I gotta just move my little bar thing here. And so this report now has mapped and unmapped devices. Before you could only see the mapped devices, but now we've included the unmapped devices. So you have your graph at the top with the data, and then depending upon what you want to see, you'll click the appropriate tile, and then it'll load the table for you below that. So if you want to look at your mapped devices, there it is. If you want to look at your unmapped devices, there are all the possible matches with the confidence score for you. And then lastly, wanted to cover, this report's brand new. So the PSA account sync report, it's also in the operational report section underneath the foreign application details report. So what this is right now, currently it's only available for ConnectWise, but as we add the data points for the other PSAs, it'll become available for other PSAs as well. So this is going to give you the list of billable account sync activity for the PSA connections. So you get your previous user count and your new user count. So you can see here, and you can see which action triggered the count to be updated.
Awesome. Hey, Amanda, do you mind before you unshare, can you just go back to the first report? The foreign, yeah. So Jim, one thing I just wanted to bring back up, and we've talked about this a while back, about sales, right? And, creating, value and pushing back and, the gosh, I'm trying to remember I'm drawing a blank, Jim, on the sales training that we talked so much about. I don't know why I'm blanking on it.
The Challenger sale.
Thank you. But if, just show of hands, Amy, maybe you can look, or just a yes or no. Do you guys have BDRs, and if you do, right, think about a BDR, right? They have to have kind of like a playbook, right, of 6 to 8 touches, right? And if you're subscribed to, like, whether it's a True Methods methodology or any, you're building your list of your top prospects. And if I was a BDR right now, or if I was the owner of a company on the SaaS Alerts call right now, knowing the precedent of attacks from the SaaS world right now, like, this would be one of my darts that I'm having my BDRs throw, right? Hey, if I got to the gatekeeper, hey, I was wondering if you could help me, right? You want to, ingratiate yourself to the gatekeeper. Hey, I was looking to talk to Jim. In a previous conversation, we talked about how the challenges around, tracking SaaS applications and how so many compromises are occurring that way. And I had some information I needed to share with him. So again, maybe you don't get through, maybe you don't, but just taking a visual of this report, like, again, hey, Jim, sorry, I missed you. I talked to Mary here. I really like to catch up with you on, how our clients and what we're hearing in the industry, what others are telling us, what other clients are sharing with us. Like, Jim, this is gold right now in terms of, how, again, what did Cory say starting this off? 86%
86%.
6% of alerts are coming from SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
So we know credential theft is at an all-time high. We know that's how threat actors or any type of social engineering or token harvesting. So the fact that you have access to this and can use it as a talk track to get into a door, I would be pounding this with my BDRs right now.
100%. And way back in the day, I know you were a BDR long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so you recognize what's gold from a BDR perspective, right, Andrew?
100%.
So this was obviously before the days you became rich and famous from Write a Boom, but this is a great point, like to the point where you should kind of redact the names of folks and take a screenshot of a report and send it to people in an email that you're trying to prospect, right? And say, hey, look, let us come in, no obligation. Let us run this report for you and see what's going on in your environment.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick assessment. It'll take a couple of weeks and boom, but this is where you should be looking.
Better yet, Cory, help me out with some of the databases out there that you can subscribe to. Hey, we found, 52 of your emails and X amount of your passwords on this dark web site. We're concerned for you, along with, let us come in and do a SaaS assessment because blah, 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 blah. Like, oh, gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the sites, Cory, that are out there that you can get that data from, but there are some.
I mean, like, have I been pwned?
Yeah, have I been pwned public? I'm thinking of
Yeah.
the
paid ones?
yeah.
Free ones. So, I mean, we have, wow. Yeah, I'm in the same brain crunch as you. I know Kaseya has an offering. What the heck are they called?
Well, that's ID Agent.
ID Agent, yeah.
I was thinking on the dark web side that my buddy James Carroll uses for social engineering pen testing. Like,
oh, gotcha.
They have almost 100% hit rate, right, when they're doing social engineering pen testing just from those types of databases. But Jim, your point well taken. Like, hey, based on what we're seeing out there on the dark web, based on we'd love to come in and do a free, whether it's a pay, I always believe on a paid assessment, but however you want to get in the door.
Yeah, definitely. So, by the way, great point. And Chad just put something in the chat too that has saved him a ton of time in terms of redacting data, redactable.
Okay.
So Chad, thank you very much for sharing that. It's one of the things that makes this community so awesome.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, coming back to one of the reports that Amanda showed in terms of Unify, the map devices, if you're not using Unify yet, I got to ask, what are you waiting for? I mean, look, if for whatever reason we don't have your RMM up there yet, let us know. But it's a game changer. It's a real point of difference. We're the only ones out there that are doing it. Like Adam's saying, shared devices are coming soon. Like he's going to be ramping up Unify even more. And again, no one else is doing it. When I say no one else is doing it, obviously, like it comes off as like I'm talking about SaaS alerts. Obviously, we are, but I'm pointing it out for your benefit. Because if you're using it through us, you can say there are very few MSPs on the planet that are able to correlate your 365 account data and map devices. We, as your provider, can do that for you.
Yeah.
That's a massive advantage for you. So that's why I bring it up and want you to take advantage of it.
And
Any word on when ConnectWise RMMs could be added to the list?
Adam Steinoff, you're on the call right now.
Yeah, I
free.
am. You caught me in a place that I'm not at my desk to get you the answer. I believe I've looked at their API and I emailed their product managers because it's not viable yet. Please don't quote me on that, but I am
Okay.
fairly certain that was the result.
Yeah. ConnectWise, I mean, look, we're trying to get them to help us with Screen Connect too. I think they're pretty distracted over there these days. A lot going on there. But that's yeah. So basically the old continuum I
Right.
think you're talking about.
Well, no, actually, we moved off of that. Now we're onto the ASIO platform. It's, now, that was, they had a different name for that one.
Okay.
ConnectWise RMM is the new one on the ASIO, not the old Continuum. That's where we're coming off of.
Okay.
It's a
I'll have to go back and
similar yet
check.
different.
I know I looked at the Continuum one, and I believe that was the one that didn't. I don't know that I've gotten ASIO yet, so I'll have to add that to my list.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
Andy, what you got?
I just spent some time going through CIS. How long do you think it'll be from when we have a list of devices and we have a list of users and that you're going to have to connect the list of users to devices? I think it's going to be that would be a real game changer because that's really what Unify is doing is it's linking users to devices as part of an inventory and asset security management piece. And this is really huge.
yeah, I would agree with that. We've got Leron and Adam on the call. If you guys want to comment on that, I don't know how I can say a lot, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I don't know that I understood, Andy. Can you say that
Yeah,
again?
I'll repeat it. So CIS says, I want to know who your users are. We kind of understand that. We can pull that out of AD. You need to know how people are logging in and that they have a password policy management. And then you also have to do the same thing for devices. I've got a list of all the devices. And Unify allows us to marry users to devices. So we could say that is the next evolution, I believe, in what will be coming with CIS is to be able to tie users to devices. And if they're not that case, would that then you'd want to have action taken, right? That's a part of a go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't the report that's on the screen right now exactly what you're asking for?
Exactly what I'm talking about, why this is so powerful. This doesn't exist outside of, at best, people are trying to do this with Entra by themselves. But this is a level of detail that I think is unique to SaaS partners.
So you weren't asking when it's going to be done. You're highlighting the fact it's done.
Right. And that it's I believe it's going to be coming in a future generation of something like a CIS.
While we're talking about that, I have considered systems that we would push this data back into. Which ones can you all think of systems that would be a great place of record for these mappings?
A Lion Guard, an IT Glue.
Yeah, Lion Guard. Thank you. Definitely.
Okay.
And yeah, I was going to put it in the chat, but yeah, it'd be cool, being able to even link a mobile to it as well, and could be an opening for like the mobile app. Register my device, and we could have their. It's nice where we can show this is their kind of registered PC and mobile, and we kind of have it already in the directory usually. Yeah.
I think this is enabling for compliance reporting as well. If you think about HIPAA or PCI, we know when they have access to these things, especially if we tie in an EHR or credit card processing terminal, that we know who's accessing them from what device and why their user profile. It kind of completes that guesswork. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, Adam, coming back to your question too, we obviously have a lot more partners that use IT Glue than, for instance, a LionGuard. What we could do, if we pushed it into IT Glue, if you're using LionGuard, couldn't you just pull it off IT Glue from there?
I don't think so, Jim, but it's worth investigating.
Yeah, I don't know the
I
answer.
think they all cross. I think they can all cross sync to each other because we were using LineGuard a while back, and I thought there was a linkage. I don't remember in what direction between that and IT Glue.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is LineGuard's read only though, so that it would not write back anything anywhere, right?
We could have it sync into IT Glue. We have assets syncing into IT Glue.
What you got, Enrique? Because we got a few more other things here we're trying to.
Quick question, just on the screen you're showing, Adam, did you finally get Macs up and running?
Yeah, which one?
The MacBooks or Mac machines on devices on Unify? I'm not.
So Mac has always been supported on Unify. The tricky part is the Entra device ID, and that's the piece that I'm still really trying to truly understand when it gets assigned and how it gets assigned, and slowly cracking the code on that, but not all the way yet.
Okay, so you have it hardwired or something here, hard coded?
Well, no, we just utilize the core of Unify, which does a lot with IP address, device name, and some other items that we compare. And, you know, for instance, my MacBook is not even using Entra device ID, and it pulls it with about an 87% certainty every time.
Interesting, I'll have to check into that. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, Leron, real quick. Are you with us, bud?
I'm here, yes.
Okay. Shouldn't say real quick. I think it's important, Leron. Can you talk to us a little about well, and I'll lead in with this that well, let me let you go first. In our continuing this was probably a good thing that Microsoft continues to enhance what they make available, right? In terms of alerts and events, but at the same time, it can cause confusion sometime. And so can you kind of maybe help us understand what happened from your eyes as a developer this week and what the downstream effect may have been for some partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Monday afternoon, we were notified by several partners of several cases where old data was appearing in SaaS alerts. So within hours, by 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, our engineering team had reviewed the use cases by querying the Microsoft API directly. So this means we're taking our logic out of the equation completely, going straight to the source and saying, okay, Microsoft, what do you have for us? And when we looked at this, we saw that Microsoft was sending us old data. In fact, I wanted to show you guys what this looks like. And I was going to kind of turn it into a somewhat of an exercise, but I think given the time constraints, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to shortcut this. So can you guys see this long URL on my screen?
Yep.
Yes. All right. So if you look at this long URL, right, you can, and the question was going to be like, why are we getting old data, right? So if you look at this string specifically here, it's a timestamp. So it's saying from 2024, from 4/13, right? Sometime in 4/13 to another time in 4/13 right here. So it's basically April 13th, right? So we're telling Microsoft, go get me data for April 13th, right? And now the thing that Microsoft is doing, the data that we get back from Microsoft. And notice that the first record that we're looking at is exactly what we want, 4/13. But the second record that they're sending us all of a sudden is 1/29, right? Straight from the source. And as of now, we've examined 9 of these examples. So that kind of beckons the question, like, why is this happening? I can guess as to why this is happening, right? Microsoft, as Andrew sort of alluded to, They could be creating brand new events on their side and they're sending us this information. They could be expanding the definition of extending events, of existing events, and sending old events. Or they could be a bug in their system where they're sending all, they found that there was an issue and they're now sending old data through, right? So this leaves us having to answer this question: what do we do with this old data? Right. So we have partners that are telling us your system is noisy. You guys need to fix this. Right. But this is a Microsoft sending us old data type of situation. But nevertheless, right, we're going to react to it. So it's very much, from my standpoint, a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of scenario, where if we didn't send you this old data and there was a breach buried somewhere in there, well, that's not something that we want to do. Right. So less than 24 hours after this issue was brought to our attention, we have what I consider to be a pretty elegant solution designed, and something that we're going to more than likely move forward with, but we did want to take a pause and get you guys' feedback. Right, so if we said any event that comes in that is older than, say, a day, 2 days, we're going to ignore it, right? We don't want to do that because then we risk missing potential breaches. So what we plan to do is to set events that exceed the specific threshold to low, except if they're outside approved location. The default setting that we're going to go with, we plan to make it 4 hours, but we plan to make it configurable. So if you never want to see old data, you could go in there and set that thing to, I don't know, 128 hours, and you're not really going to have to worry about this all that much. Or you could go in and leave the default to 4 hours, right? So this means in the data that I showed, on 4/12, 4/13, where Microsoft is sending us data from 129, since that exceeded the 4-hour limit that I set it to, it's going to be set to low automatically, unless it is outside approved location.
And eventually, Leron, would it be that people would have a filter view? Like you put the power in their hands. Like maybe there's some default settings, but eventually, again, if you felt it was worthwhile, that you could, hey, it's up to you, Mr. Customer, Mr.
Yeah.
MSP.
Yeah. We feel like 4 hours is a good time, but we're going to give you guys the control. You guys can decide whether or not you want to see these things and treat them as normal events, or just set everything to low unless it's outside approved location.
But it's cool that you could go, in the event, God forbid there was, you could go back from a forensic analysis side and start digging.
Yeah, we need to be very, very careful about what events we choose to ignore.
Exactly.
So for what it's worth, this is the battle I fight every day, not just with Microsoft, but with, you look at next gen AVs, when they do cloud-based models and they update a score for a particular file, you can get a brand new alert for something that was detected weeks, months, even a year ago, right?
Is that right, Cory?
Yes, all the time. Windows Defender is huge on this as well, of where we're getting alerts, active alerts, where it looks like the machine just quarantined this device. And as we look at it, this happened 6 weeks ago. What's going on? And it's that dilemma of, okay, is this actionable? Is this alertable? If it happened so long ago, I think the data needs to be there, but not trigger an alert, like you said. If it's, again, there's a threshold. A lot of times I look at, it could be 48 hours, could be more than that, right? It really depends on what you're looking at on something that should be alertable or not alertable. Because as you hit on, Andrew, right, as you go back, a lot of times these alerts by themselves aren't actionable, but as something else is triggered and you go back and triage, okay, what happened? It makes that type of alert beneficial and part of the investigation.
Yeah, no doubt. Awesome. Leron, any other things from you?
Just one quick note. I saw a bunch of chatter. People are looking to use Duo. The Duo API is severely limited. So as you guys start using Duo, by all means, connect with us. We'd love to hear back from you and get your feedback. But that API is very, very limited in the data available, in case you guys are wondering why you're not getting more.
Very cool. So
we can always, by the way, put pressure on Duo if we need to try to enhance that.
So I know we're limited on time. So this, if you want to hear more on XDR and Cory come Monday to the cyber call. We're going to get in depth with him there. But Cory, kicking things off, before we get into XDR, I just wanted to point out a few things here. One, I know Palo is, you might as an MSP see Palo up market. I know there's some MSPs that, you know, play up in the upper mid market and stuff, but this is a big one. If you have any clients running Palo firewalls and the VPN, I hope you are well aware of this. In John Strand's word from his IR team, this is a complete shit show. So please pay heed to this, or if you know anybody running Palo as well. So I wanted to kick this off of why I wanted to do an XDR conversation with Cory, because the thematic around Microsoft and Midnight Blizzard, or really going all the way back to last summer with Storm, it can, unfortunately, as Jim, you alluded to, should you have Microsoft policing Microsoft? And with the proliferation of SaaS alerts, that's really the conversation we're about to have. But I did want to get Cory's take real quick on this. So as you guys know, with Midnight Blizzard, we have gone from, it's not a big deal, it was a legacy system, to, well, the threat actor did actually escalate and get into some of our data, to they got into code repositories, but no production systems, to now CISA on Sunday or whatever, I forget the exact date, came out and said, oh, by the way, the Midnight Blizzard thing, yeah, we've got emails and credentials that have been compromised because of this. So this is going to lead into our log conversation around XDR with Cory, but Cory, let me just get your take on this, I call it the last pass, or sorry, the last pass 2.0 of 2024. I mean, this just keeps getting more,
It's getting worse and worse. I mean,
yeah.
If you remember when we first talked about this compromise on this call, I mean, I'm just angry. I was angry at this because of the PR related response that Microsoft put out. Nothing to see here. It's only a few accounts of in Microsoft, just the most important people, right? It was just a legacy, a platform that had direct access into our live corporate environment. Nothing to see here, though. We're good.
This is Microsoft.
Yeah. And now here we are, Cory, where we went from code repositories getting compromised about 2 weeks ago to now CISA coming out and saying federal agencies.
Yeah. Yep. Not surprised, because I mean that's how this first originally originated. The why, right? The question mark of why did this happen, and a lot of people are indicating that they wanted to know what talks are happening about them, how much do people know about them, is what the original reason for this compromise happening. I think it's far more than that. I think they found an open opportunity and were able to pivot into federal agencies and their information. I'm not surprised with the level of information that was seen. My wife, for over 20 years, she's worked for multiple 3-letter agencies, and I just know how they function. I know the things that they pass over simple email because they think they're secure because it's their environment, right? And they're on a secure Microsoft environment, even though they're so far behind on everything. So that definitely wasn't surprising on the amount of stuff that was exfiltrated out of federal agencies.
Yeah. I find it fascinating, like I said, because Microsoft literally came out and said there's been no tenant compromises.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true.
Right.
According to the federal government. So this leads us into kind of our conversation on, all this security data, or sorry, SaaS data, Cory, that, when you first started Solutions Granted, you probably didn't have to worry too much about, I'm guessing, when you first got going, right? SaaS environments, and now you're saying 80% of it. But talk to us about, like, you guys pull lots of events together, and I'm going to air quote, you have an XDR. What the heck is XDR? It's another, to me, it's another zero trust term. What is it? What was it? What was the intention behind this term?
Well, just like the term next generation, it's become a marketing slogan that's kind of lost its value in what it's supposed to be. Everyone has kind of redefined what an XDR is. I mean, if I remember going to RSA and how disappointed I was year before last, and everyone was promoting they were an XDR, which again blurred the lines of what the value and the purpose of an XDR is. So the way I explain, the way I always define it is it's a central repository or centralized platform where you're feeding in multiple different technologies to do a correlation of events. So as an example, SaaS-based events are important. Endpoint events are important. Firewall events are important. We can go on to the different technologies, right? And so being able to correlate that data. And when we go, when I talk to our partners, some of our partners come to us just for MDR because there's DRs for everything, as everybody knows. We're all pirates. I can tell you we offer an MDR, we have an XDR, NDR, CDR, everything DR, right? And it basically depends upon what technology you're looking at. And it brings in experts. It brings in the monitoring. And that's what's important. And with XDR, you have to start looking at what's defined as an open XDR. So that's an agnostic solution that doesn't silo events. So if you're logging into multiple different platforms trying to figure out what the heck happened, it's going to take too long. You're going to miss what actually, the clearer picture, right, of what actually the incident was. And so, I explained to everybody, if I can correlate, let's say, for example, I'm seeing your endpoint, right? I see a Mimikatz. This is the simple explanation. I see a Mimikatz being quarantined on your domain controller at 2 a.m. And then I can correlate a user account that was compromised. Cool. If I can also get your Active Directory logs, if I can look at your 365 logs, did I see that this user over the past 48 hours started using a VPN where they never used a VPN before? If I can look at your firewall logs and see that there has been an outbite anomaly, right? I'm seeing exfiltration of data. Again, that's a clear picture that I'm painting instead of just coming to you saying, hey, adversaries are in your environment. Mimikatz was quarantined. You need to fix it. If I can provide all of that extra information, that whole storyline where we can connect those dots, that's the value of XDR.
Got it. So what are the components that as an MSP, if I've got, I use I'm making it up. I use SaaS alerts, I use SentinelOne, my compliance customers, I've got some SIM over here for logs. What do I need to do to try to pull this under my roof? I know it's not for a faint of heart, but like what do you need in place to start to consider even doing something like this?
So here's the pickle. Are you going to try to do this yourself? Are you capable of doing this yourself? And I talk to a lot of MSPs on a monthly basis where, again, they feel like they're already doing it, but they're not running 24/7 operations. Their engineers are receiving alerts. I even had some gentleman tell me he was a previous firefighter and he'll get an alert on his phone that makes a certain tone and it'll wake him up. My mind was blown. That's not efficient enough, right? And then as an MSP, is your security guy also your SharePoint guy, also your printer guy? Are they doing multiple other things? If that is the case, you need to start considering outsourcing. And when you start looking at outsourcing, right, consider a vendor that can bring it all together. If you have this SOC looking at just SaaS, if you have this SOC just looking at your endpoint, right? If these are disconnected, that compromise is disconnected. So these are the two things you have to look at. Are you able to do this yourself? And if you are, consider the cost and consider you need to be doing this 24 hours a day. If you're going to outsource this, consider what are your core components in your stack and how can you bring those together so that the individuals and the experts that are analyzing this and looking at this can bring these events together.
If someone says to you, hey, they're on the call here, Cory, and they're like, we got a pretty good team. We really are, invested heavily in SaaS alerts and we've got a good handle of our EDR. Are those, I don't want to lead the witness, but are those good places to begin to correlate? Are there good places to begin correlation? if you kept
Yes, I mean, so for me, you have to apply a value to things, and unfortunately, obviously firewall data is super important, but in my opinion, it's not as important or relevant as we sit here in 2024 as your endpoint and as your SaaS. I said it earlier, right? 83 to 86% of our alerts are coming based off potential account anomalies, right? Whether it's logins or processing rules or stuff like that, right? And then the critical thing that that's gonna hit you, right? The most the hardest it's gonna hit you is on the endpoint, right? Because that's when that boom happens. Now, again, depending upon how mature you can get this, right? Where we love to live is left of boom, right? Adversaries now love to perform reconnaissance, right? Once they get into the environment, they're going to figure out how are they going to hit you, and they're good. They're a lot better than they used to be. That's, than they were 10 years ago. That's for sure. And so you have to be able to find that needle in that haystack to identify that someone's in your environment performing that reconnaissance before that boom, that destruction actually happens.
Really good. All right. I know we're at the top, Cory, and excited to continue this with you and Michael on Monday. Jim, anything you want to close us out with? This was, I think, one of the best SaaS alerts we've had, and a lot of it because of certainly Cory's contribution but all the wins.
Engagement.
The partner engagement, and how partners are using it and winning with it. So
yes, 100%. 100%. Great. So with that, hope everyone has a great rest of the week and weekend, and look forward to seeing everybody next week.
All right, Jim. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Cory.
Thanks all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.